butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high.
Hello everyone. I am doing my report, a little review on a book that I found pretty interesting. A little book that by the title may seem a little bit more inappropriate. It's called GetCloser, a gay man's guide to intimacy. First of all, it's really not that naughty, unfortunately. It has a lot of great information. It's really a guide for gay men to look at intimacy as more than just getting in bed with someone, and more of opening up to somebody and understanding yourself, so that way you can build these long-term relationships. What society expects of a man regardless of sexual preference, and how gay men internalize that. Reading it, I found lots of things like communication, being open, trusting, understanding your partner and how they may feel. All of these things I think can apply to heterosexual couples. So as I go through this, if you are heterosexual, I ask that you keep an open mind and then really think about how it may apply to your own life. By being vulnerable and being open with someone, you're really allowing a deeper level of intimacy, and intimacy is what's needed for a long-term relationship. I love food, but I hate to relate. Well, no, I love relating everything to food. So it's kind of like, I like to think of it as you can either have potato chips, M&Ms, or Skittles. Those types of things are delicious, or you think they're really good, but after a while, if you keep eating those things, you're really just going to get a stomachache, or tooth decay, or the diabetes. So really what you really need is a whole round nutritional meal. Per Dr. Turnan's book, homosexual relationships can start off like with a bang. Traditionally, men tend to think about sex more often than women, and so when you have two, let's just say 20-something-year-old men at the height of their sexuality, they're possibly coming out of the closet and they're having that candy store moment where they just want to try everything. When you put those types of things together, it can be explosive, no pun intended. That brings up a point about jumping into the sack too soon, or doing the horizontal mambo, horizontal tango too soon can actually hinder intimacy and creating that long-term relationship. He does talk about infatuation being good, but at the same time it can cause you to lose focus on what's really important. And when dating and trying to build intimacy, really what you're trying to do is explore this other person. What Dr. Turnan had said in his book, gay men and heterosexual couples tend to lose focus on that, and we take a backseat and we try to become that person that other person wants. So, understanding that, being one with yourself, understanding who you are, and not necessarily trying to fill that with someone else, no pun intended, will help you build a long-term, long-lasting relationship. Stuff that what Dr. Turnan explained, being ready and wanting a relationship really isn't the same thing. We have to explore what it is that you're looking for. Do you truly love yourself? Because honestly, I battled this. For me, this hit a really deep point. For me, I feel like I really want that relationship, but that doesn't mean necessarily that I'm ready for it. Per what Dr. Turnan said, I'm really finding more about myself and knowing exactly what I want. Mr. Right will eventually be that person that can be in my world. Then, Dr. Turnan really talks about early intimacy, and you know what, this applies in the straight world too, but the biggest things that'll just sabotage a relationship from going any further would be bringing up the ex within the first couple of dates. A big no-no. No need to bring up exes. Over talking about yourself really shows that you don't necessarily, it can come off as that you don't care about the other person. Now, in the opposite end, if you're asking so many questions and you're not sharing anything of yourself, it can almost feel like you're interviewing them, and that can be off-putting. Just over-communicating, there isn't necessarily like a 3-day rule or anything like that, but there is a bit of an extreme by over-texting, over-communicating. You can get a little bit extreme. Two things which are a little ridiculous when I read them, but I'm sure we've all dated someone like this, where one, either they make things into an issue. They message you or they call you and they're like, I need to talk to you about something. There's something we need to talk about. First of all, we just started dating. Yeah, but really want you to call me. Red flag. That is a red flag statement, usually meaning that you are in the doghouse or that things are gonna get weird. And that's not me, that's Dr. Turner. If you want to talk about something, just talk about it, be open. Fantasy is supposed to be about exploration. Same thing with ultimatums. So you're dating someone, it's still pretty early, and you explain to them, where is this going? If you don't let me know where this is going, I'm exiting. You just stepped on a landmine that you planted yourself. So he explains that a lot of these things can be addressed down the line, and really it's whatever you feel comfortable with. So that talks back to being ready for a relationship. Either one, you are just not ready for this relationship, or two, this person is not ready for you. When Dr. Turnan started talking about the socialized male and what society has pressured gay men into feeling, and heterosexual men too. Dr. Turnan brought up things that we've talked about in class, that at a very young age, parents, teachers, society teaches us to be men, have to be strong and powerful and assertive, see problems as things that they need to fix, and award being competitive in a business or even in a social circle. Put a strong value on what you do versus who you are. I really find that difficult because I myself feel that I put a larger value, and I'm very hard on myself, not following up or not meaning certain things that I want to do, versus the all-encompassing of who I am. And I think while they're important, they don't necessarily need to be the end-all be-all. Men are programmed to try to fix things, but just having someone there to hear and understand what you're going through can help. Not necessarily needing to fix it, but just being open and understanding of where they're coming from. And Dr. Turnan does talk about how heterosexual men and heterosexual women do think about things in different ways. He does bring up the fact that men tend to compartmentalize things, and women seem to connect things. He does put a strong emphasis that gay men don't necessarily think like women or think like men, they just think. And that, to be honest, Dr. Turnan explains that there really is no difference. Yes, on a physical level. To some degree, discussions are a little different. We have to deal with things like, we have to talk about HIV and AIDS and coming out of the closet and those types of things. But those all can relate to heterosexual relationships. Heterosexuals have to talk about their past sexual experiences. They have to talk about STDs and things that may be in their lives. Dr. Turnan brings up, we all come out of a certain type of closet. He talks about the closet being not necessarily just about homosexuals. We train ourselves to hide a part of us for so long that it makes it hard to be open with someone. I agree with the book on many levels, but I think it brings up a good point where the closet doesn't necessarily need to be a homosexual closet, that heterosexuals also have their own type of closet where they may be hiding a part of themselves for a long time, and that can create barriers in bringing intimacy into a relationship. So it's about understanding that so that we can move forward and bring intimacy and bring long-lasting relationships into our lives. I think it's an amazing book that I ask sexuals to take a gander at, as well as heterosexuals, because there are things in here that apply to both. So that's the book. And if you're interested in the book, I'm sure you can get it off of Amazon. It was like $2. Okay, it was more like 15, 10? I forget how much it was, but it's an easy book to get. So, thank you again for listening, and yeah, thanks. It's been a pleasure.